Let's begin by examining the images. First, let's look at the position of the feet. The left foot is forward and pointed towards the opponent. And the right heel is off the ground. Now let's look at the position of the hands. The Gedi and the Navati both have the right palm facing the outside. The Morgan and the Florius both have the right palm facing the opponent. The differences between the two hand positions don't affect the mechanics of the defenses. It's just personal preference as to which is used. The left-hand positions from all four manuscripts are relatively similar. The Gedi, Morgan, and Florius all have the hands low, with the hands around the area of the groin. The Navati has the hands much higher, more around the area of the navel. The Morgan, Navati, and Florius all have the left elbow bent. The Gedi shows the left elbow nearly straight. Now let's look at the position of the body. The hips and shoulders are square with each other. Here we have the Morgan, Navati, and Florius. We take a look closer at the faces. Instead of facing the opponent, they appear to be looking slightly to the right. And the torsos appear to be angled slightly to the right as well. In reality, they should be facing and looking directly at the opponent. Perspective and drawings were difficult in Fiore's time. Perhaps the artist intended the reader to mentally rotate the image to where he was facing the opponent. Doing so would bring the sword point closer to the center than depicted in the images, decreasing the distance to the opponent, which helps in defenses since action is always faster than reaction. The Getty shows the face directly towards the opponent, but the torso is slightly angled to the right. Again, rotating the image to the left to get the shoulders square with the opponent puts the fighter in the proper position. Now let's look at the position of the sword. Here's a closer look of all four sword positions. The true edge appears to be pointed towards the opponent. And the cross guards are angled consistent with the true edge aligned with the opponent. Judging from the position of the hands in front of the body, it appears the blade should be in line with the front foot. If you rotate the image as stated earlier, the sword would appear to be even with the front foot. Now, let's examine the text. We'll be using the translated text from the Getty for this video. The English translation is courtesy of Colin Hatcher. The text from the other manuscripts don't add any of the useful information on Porta di Ferro that's not covered in the Getty. Here begin the guards of the two-handed sword, and there are 12 of them. The first is Low Iron Gate, which is a very strong guard, and a good guard in which to wait for an attack by every kind of handheld weapon, whatever its length, as long as you have a good sword that is not overextended. If you cover from this guard while making a passing step, you will transition to close range, or you can exchange thrusts, striking home with yours, or as you step, you can beat the opponent's thrust to the ground. This guard can cover attacks from all angles. Let's put this into context. What does the text say Porta di Ferro can do? It's a strong guard that is good for waiting for attacks. If you cover with a passing step, you can enter into gioco stretto. It can perform exchange of the thrust, the 8th scholar of gioco largo. It can perform breaking of the thrust, 10th scholar of gioco largo. And it can cover all attacks. Porta di Ferro is classified as a pulsativa poste. But what does that mean? Fiore is silent on the meaning of the classifications, and these labels are only found in the Getty. Pulsativa is derived from Latin pulsatio, which translates into to beat, to knock, to strike. If we take the context of the definition along with the text, we can surmise that pulsativa most likely means that Porta di Ferro can beat, knock, strike all blows, meaning it can parry all blows. Now let's bring the text and the images to life. Let's take a look at the positioning. Let's take a look at a few techniques as based on the text. If you cover from this guard while making a passing step, you will transition to close range. A cover is made from Porta di Ferro with a passing step, which brings the left foot back. That puts you in the remedy master of Gioco Stretto. A Gioco Stretto play then can be performed by taking a passing step and extending the left hand to obtain a grapple. The example that follows is the 13th scholar of Gioco Stretto that is taken from the first remedy master of Dagger. Which can then be followed up with a Ligadura Mezzana. Or you can exchange thrusts, striking home with yours. This is the Scambiar de Punta, exchange of the thrust, 8th scholar of Gioco Largo. When a thrust comes, step off line to the left with the left foot and move into posta breve, crossing the opponent's blade. That puts the opponent's point offline. Keeping the hands low, an offline passing step to the left is made while thrusting, keeping in opposition of the opponent's blade. As you step, you can beat the opponent's thrust to the ground. This is the Rompere de Punta, breaking of the thrust, 10th scholar of Gioco Largo. When a thrust comes, step off line to the right and strike across his sword near the middle of his blade. A Gioco Stretto play then can be made, or one of the follow-on plays of the breaking of the thrust. This guard can cover attacks from all angles. The following techniques are merely examples of covers from Porta di Ferro. There are numerous other techniques that can be used. Defending against Mandritto Fendente. Here's an example of covering using the true edge. Defending against Reverso Fendente. Here I'm covering using the false edge through the posta frontale. Here I'm defending against a reverso fendente with posta finestra with an expulsion. Defending against mandritto sottano. Example of a cover with posta finestra. Defending against reverso sottano. Once again covering with posta finestra. Covering against mandritto mezzano. Here I'm doing a cover with the true edge. Covering against reverso mezzano. Once again covering with posta finestra. There are many more techniques that can be done with Porta di Ferro, but this is beyond the scope of this video. This video's scope was to examine what was covered in the historical sources. Please remember, train safe.